Alright, let's dive into something that's got the MotoGP world buzzing. Aprilia's technical director, Massimo Sterlachini, recently dropped some insights that could completely shake up how we think about racing next season. And personally, I think this is way bigger than just Aprilia, it's about the future of MotoGP itself. Here's the deal, Sterlachini predicts we're going to see more overtaking next year. Bold claim, right? But what makes this really interesting is why he thinks that. It's not just about faster bikes or new tracks, it's about the tires, the riders, and how they're all going to adapt to some major changes. First, let's talk about the riders. Sterlachini mentions Ogura, and here's where it gets fascinating. Ogura, coming fresh from Moto2, relies heavily on the rear brake. Now, in my opinion, this is a game changer because it allows him to compensate for issues with the hard front tire. What many people don't realize is that at tracks like Sepang, Barcelona, and Brno, where Aprilia struggles the most with front tire grip, Ogura is their fastest rider. If you take a step back and think about it, this isn't just about riding style, it's about adaptability. Ogura's approach is almost like a workaround for the bike's weaknesses, and that's something other riders might need to learn from. Now, Fernandez is a different story. Initially, he struggled just like Jorge with the front tire, but after some adjustments to the bike and his riding style, he improved. From my perspective, this highlights a bigger trend in MotoGP. The relationship between rider and machine is constantly evolving. It's not just about raw talent, it's about how quickly a rider can adapt to the bike's quirks. And honestly, I think this is where the overtaking prediction comes in. If riders like Ogura and Fernandez can find ways to push the bike beyond its limits, we're in for some seriously unpredictable races. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. Sterlachini also talks about the mental side of racing. When a rider like Bez gets into a downward spiral of crashes and injuries, it's not just about fixing the bike, it's about fixing the mindset. What this really suggests is that MotoGP is as much a mental sport as it is a physical one. Sterlachini's approach of focusing on positive thinking and learning from mistakes is something I find fascinating. In a sport where one error can cost you the race, how you recover mentally is everything. Now, let's talk tires. The switch to Pirellis is a huge deal, and Sterlachini admits it's hard to predict how it'll play out. With Michelin, Aprilia's grip balance issues were all about managing the rear tire's edge grip, which would push the front. But with Pirellis, the front tire behavior is completely different. One thing that immediately stands out is how this could change the entire dynamic of racing. If the front tire overheating in slipstreams becomes less of an issue, as Sterlachini suggests, we could see riders sticking closer together for longer, and that's a recipe for more overtaking. Another detail I find fascinating is the potential for more bike pitching with the new rules. If the center of gravity needs to be raised to make the Pirellis work, we could see bikes moving more dramatically into and out of corners. Personally, I think this would make the racing look way more spectacular. The current bikes are so flat and stable that they almost look robotic at times. A bit more movement, a bit more unpredictability. Yes, please. Finally, let's address the elephant in the room, the 850s. The original goal was to slow the bikes down by 2 to 3 seconds per lap, but it looks like that's not happening. In fact, at some tracks, they might even be faster. This raises a deeper question. Are we actually making the racing better, or are we just creating a new set of challenges? Sterlachini seems optimistic, especially about the reduced aerodynamic effects and the potential for closer racing. But in my opinion, the real test will be how riders and teams adapt to these changes. So, here's my closing thought. MotoGP is on the brink of a major shift. More overtaking, new tire dynamics, and bikes that might look and feel completely different, it's all coming together to create a season that could redefine the sport. But what makes this really exciting is the unknown. How will the riders adapt? Will the racing actually be better? Personally, I can't wait to find out. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below.